Alright, so we are now stepping into the chapter 2, and before we begin exploring the different methods and ways to make your XRP work for you, let me explain the concept of different types of XRP. What does it mean? Okay, because I believe that most of you, 99% of you holding XRP, you're actually holding a native XRP token that you bought from an exchange, most likely centralized exchange like Coinbase, Binance, KuCoin, Mexi, doesn't matter. You bought some XRP, you withdrew that XRP to some sort of a wallet, most likely hardware wallet, Ledger, Trezor, Decent, whatever else it may be, and you're basically holding your XRP. But there are multiple options to hold the same XRP across different blockchains, okay? Because native XRP sits on its own native blockchain, so to speak, called XRPL, XRP Ledger, right? And the XRPL itself, it's not fun. Yes, whatever XRP and Ripple as a company is doing, it's one side of things, and we all know why we're holding XRP. But the other side of the things, the blockchain and DeFi related stuff, is on the other side of the Ripple as a company and XRP as a coin, representing a company, so to speak, and the whole cross-border payments, liquidity, on-demand liquidity, blah, blah, blah. All of that stuff is one side. DeFi, on the other hand, is on the other side. So in order to be able to participate in DeFi using XRP, and because XRPL natively is not supported across DeFi protocols and platforms, and it's not popular at all because it's not designed to do that, right? You have to use different type of XRPs across different blockchains that are DeFi compatible. So the most obvious example is of course Ethereum and Ethereum layer 2s like Base, also Binance Smart Chain, BSC chain, Binance Smart Chain is also DeFi compatible. Flare chain as well, it is now DeFi compatible on XRP, and there are multiple others as well. But you cannot just send your native XRP to the wallet that is compatible with Ethereum or Flare, for example, right? Because, well, it's not how it's designed. You cannot send from one chain to another the same native coin. So what you have to do is use wrapped assets. And a wrapped asset is a very simple concept. There is not much to think about. Imagine holding XRP, and imagine that somewhere else there is the same amount of XRP that you hold, just named differently and being available in a different place. So to give you a very high level, simple, real world type of example, imagine there are multiple countries in the world, right? And imagine that XRP acts as a one major currency covering all the world, right? But in each individual country, you need to have the same XRP, but designed specifically for that country. So you cannot send one XRP from, just imagine it, right? From France to the XRP in Spain, so to speak, right? Because there is French XRP and Spanish XRP. So you have to use the wrapped asset that represents 1-to-1 ratio, because it's the same XRP just on in a different place. So this is how the wrapped assets work. So we have multiple options. The most common one is cbXRP that comes from Coinbase. So if we click on the link and go to the Coinbase, cbXRP, and if we go to the actual Coinbase wrapped assets, you will see all of the information here and the benefits of Coinbase wrapped assets. And the most obvious use case is that you can use your wrapped assets on a growing number of DeFi applications. Because if you just have XRP natively, you cannot use it pretty much nowhere. There are very limited options for you to use the XRP in any kind of a DeFi app or something to generate something, right? But the moment you use a wrapped asset, cbXRP, that is the same XRP backed one-to-one with native XRPs. So as many XRPs that are in Coinbase cbXRP, there is the same amount of native XRPs in custody by Coinbase. Okay, so if you are holding XRP or cbXRP, it doesn't matter. It's the same asset, just on a different chain. In other words, in a different place, right? So if you have cbXRP in your wallet, you actually have the same XRP. It's just on a different chain, different wallet, different place, and it enables you access to DeFi applications, right? But the value, the price, everything is exactly the same as on a native XRP, okay? So if you go now, let's go back to cbXRP, most of these things are required to show publicly the proof of reserves. So you know how many tokens are in reserve and in total supply. So cbXRP, as you can see right here, is pretty much spot on. The total reserve in native XRP and the total supply of cbXRP, okay? So this is native XRP and this is cbXRP, which is the same one, it's just on a different chain. And you can see all the wallet addresses, as you can see right here, they are holding native XRPs and they issue a cbXRP, which is a wrapped XRP. So if we go back, cbXRP, okay, the same thing applies to Binance Smart Chain. You are also able to swap stablecoins into XRP on Binance Smart Chain on protocols like PancakeSwap, for example. I will not go too deep into those because it's not the point of the video and the program. I want to show you what I am actually using, and I am not using XRP on Binance Smart Chain or PancakeSwap DEX. That's why I will not show you that. But then we have FXRP, which is the second type of XRP. And the FXRP is exactly the same as cbXRP, but it's made from a decentralized manner, meaning that there are no centralized entity controlling and having custody of native XRPs that are backed one-to-one. Instead, the FXRP is backed by collateral that is always available to see for you. So you can always mint from native XRP to FXRP. I will show you how to do that. And mint back from FXRP back to the native XRP. Okay, simple as that. So if we go to the FAssets platform right here, as you can see, a bit below, you will see the proof of reserves. And you will notice that it's usually just slightly above 100%. This needs to be always at 100% or more. If it's more, it means the pool is even over collateralized, which is even better. So you have more XRP reserves than the actual FXRP minted, right? So as you can see right here, it's pretty much spot on. the amount that we have FXRP in supply circulating, we have the same amount in XRP reserve as a native XRP, and this ratio is 100%, which is exactly what we need to see. Okay, which means that if you hold FXRP, you can be sure that there is the same amount of actual native XRP in collateral in Flare networks. Okay, and all of this is made on a decentralized manner, so it's not under Flare control, so to speak. It's all permissionless. Okay, now we have staked XRP, which is cbXRP, and this is coming from the FXRP because now recently there is the latest development in XRP DeFi ecosystem where you can actually stake your FXRP on Flare to receive staked XRP, and your staked XRP will be able to earn you yield using Firelight protocol. Okay, I will not go in depth right now what it does, but it's essentially, you can click on it, you can read about it. It's basically an insurance policy protocol for DeFi protocols. So other DeFi protocols can buy insurance from Firelight, and if the claim is made or something, then people like me and maybe you and others that actually stake their XRPs into the pool will get rewards from the fees that those protocols buying the insurance pay. Okay, simple. I mean, it's just very simple high-level explanation. So Firelight acts as an insurance company for different DeFi protocols. So in case they get hacked or something, right, Firelight will cover the losses for the protocol, but the protocols are paying the fee, okay, to Firelight, and that fee goes directly to people that provide liquidity for Firelight to pay out any claims or something if it happens, right, into the pools. So this is a very high level explanation, but it's the latest development. It launched a few days ago, so it's a still pretty new hot thing. And then we have UXRP, which is the universal XRP, which is also very similar to cbXRP. You can click on the link universal.xyz and basically trade crypto stop assets on any chain. That's the main idea. You can then click on get started. It will take you to the app. As you can see, you have you have Universal Sui, XRP, Uni, ADA, etc. So you have access to different DeFi applications on chains and from the assets that are not DeFi compatible, like XRP, like ADA, etc. Right? And also right here, let me move my face, you have the reserves. And if you click on reserves, you can see that all of the collateral ratio, so to speak. So as you can see on XRP, we have 100% collateral ratio, as well as the same applies to all of these assets. Okay, which means that you can freely mint from XRP to UXRP, or just swap some USDC straight into UXRP, which is the same as buying XRP. You are just doing it on a different blockchain, not on a native XRP ledger, but the values will be exactly the same. So I will show you how to use this one as well. Because why I'm showing you all of these types of XRPs, because those XRPs, these different type of XRPs, enables different DeFi opportunities. And if we look at one of the examples, can you see how many different pools and opportunities we have to deploy liquidity into and earn the yield? So for example, the biggest one, which is on the base chain on Aerodrome decentralized exchange, which is ETH versus cbXRP. This pool has over 2 million TVL and is paying the average over the last 7 days about 5K in fees. So people are trading and swapping between ETH and cbXRP, or between cbXRP and ETH, right? Buying or selling, right? And each time they make a transaction, each time they swap from one asset to another, they pay a fee. And that fee goes to people like me and maybe you and others, providing liquidity into that pool. So this pool is the main one with over 2 million in TVL and paying approximately 5k in fees. We also have cbXRP versus cbBTC. As you can see, Bitcoin as a thing, as a coin, is also not DeFi compatible. Bitcoin on Bitcoin chain, so to speak, is not DeFi compatible. So if you want to participate in DeFi using BTC, you must also bridge and use different wrapped BTC options. So cbBTC is one of the most popular ones as well. It's the same as cbXRP from Coinbase, and it's widely available across DeFi applications. So you have a pool also with cbXRP and cbBTC with 1.6 million in TVL and about 7k paid in fees over the last 7 days. So part of this amount can be yours if you provide liquidity into this pool and earn the yield. And because you are earning the yield in both assets, in XRP and BTC, you can basically leave the money there and stack more assets. Simple as that. Okay? Anyways, then we have uXRP versus ETH as well on Base Chain and Uniswap decentralized exchange with 1.4 million in TVL and on average 3.3k in fees over the last 7 days. Okay, and we have a few smaller ones as well, some Binance Chain, as you can see, and on a PancakeSwap DEX. But the core idea that I'm trying to explain here is that you must use different types of XRPs to participate in DeFi to unlock liquidity and be able to actually lend, borrow, provide liquidity, deploy capital, and earn cash flow using your XRPs. At the end of the day, if you've been doing this for, let's say, a year or two, and you stacked more XRPs, you made your yield, you can always say, okay, that's enough, withdraw everything from the pools and get back to your native XRPs. Always. There is no problem doing that. The only thing is that, I myself, I do have my XRP backs that I'm not touching. They are as a reserve, as a treasury, okay? And I do have XRPs that I am actually actively utilizing. I'm using them. So those XRPs are sitting in multiple types and forms. uXRP, FXRP, cbXRP, etc. Right? And I'm using those XRPs to make more money without actually selling them or just trading them or doing something like that from the traditional perspective. I deploy them into the pool, I borrow against them if I need to, and I basically manipulate them as much as I need to make more income and yield. And at the end of the day, when I'm done, I can withdraw everything. I will hold certain amount of uXRP, for example, and then I can redeem my uXRP back to native XRPs, or cbXRP to native XRP, or from my FXRPs back to native XRPs, and hold and add them to my bag and simply hold it from there. It's always an option, so to speak. You are not it's not like you must hold and you cannot redeem back to native XRP or something like that. But I don't see any problems holding cbXRP if that makes you more money. There is no point into withdrawing it back to native XRP unless you really want to stop using DeFi, stop using all of these opportunities and protocols. Then of course, yeah, you can hold native XRPs. But if you wish to participate in the market, participate in DeFi, yield, build cash flow, borrow against it, lend it out, etc., etc., then you will have to use different types of XRPs, which is at the end of the day, it's the same thing, just on another chain, in other words, in a different place. Okay, so hopefully it's all clear. It should be. If it's not, send me a message, let me answer your questions, but I believe that it should be fairly clear on how this thing works. Okay, now we will move forward and I will show you how to actually get your cbXRPs, FXRPs, etc. on chain and in your wallet. Okay, so thank you and I will see you on the next video.